What is going on, people? We are back. I got my son back with me. What up, J Rock? How you doing today, kiddo?
Uh, I'm doing all right. I've been better. Had a rough week or so, but trying to push through.
Rough week. Oh man, come on now, suck that up, man. What you mean you had a rough week? You gotta suck that up. Like you sound like a little girl right now, talking about something. I had a rough week, man. Men ain't supposed to have rough weeks. What the hell you talking about?
Hey,
That right
man.
there, that right there is why men do not open up. That judgment that I just did right there, that shaming him that I just did there, that's what we're talking about today. That's exactly the reason why men do not open up. That's why we go into our shells. That's why we don't talk, because we feel shamed, we feel judged, and we feel like it's not okay to do that. So that's what we're talking about today. What up, kiddo? How you doing, man? Not a real version. How you doing, man?
Um, I'm doing all right. My week could have been better. I've been just honestly, training for work has just been kind of dragging a little bit. So it's just kind of got me like, in like this weird state of mind. But the weekend's here. I'm about to go vote with Adrena. Try to get out and do something with her tonight. So hopefully, it picks up for me.
Okay, I feel you. So, man, so again, the subject is, we're talking about men and opening up. So, I wanted to talk to you because obviously you're a man and you're my son, but I wanted to talk to you and, find out your journey. And, you can ask me mine too about, being able to open up. And has that always been an easy journey for you, or has that been difficult? And can you talk to us about what that journey has been like for you to be able to open up and be the man that you are now?
For sure. I mean, it's definitely it's still a work in progress for sure. I'm further along than where I started at. Um, I think for me the biggest thing was going to therapy, but finding a therapist that worked for me. I tried a few different times, and it never really stuck for me. Um, and I'm not a person that really likes to talk a lot about myself, and that's kind of what therapy is. It's just kind of speaking about yourself. But I think that through kind of going through that for probably consistently about a year and a half now, maybe close to 2 years, um, and just understanding myself, learning more about myself, even kind of becoming a little bit more confident um, in myself as well. I think I'm in a much better place than I was in when I started this journey, for sure. What about you?
Man, so with me, as far as opening up, I don't think I've ever really had a problem with opening up. It's just that I prefer to deal with things on my own. Like I prefer to not say anything. I prefer to like, well, I'll just figure this shit out. Like I don't know how I'm gonna figure it out, but I'll figure it out somehow, some way. And with that, there's a lot of times that I have suffered in silence because I have, chosen to not speak up, chosen to not ask friends for help, chosen to not talk to my therapist about stuff because some of it is embarrassment. Some of it is like, yo, I'm a man. I'm supposed to be able to do this on my own. I don't need to be asking nobody for help. I'm a man, and we're kind of conditioned to think that way and to feel that way. But it's wrong.
For sure.
I
Yeah,
mean, go ahead, Jay.
I would say one thing I noticed with me is sometimes it's not even asking for help. It's just like getting off my chest what I got to get off my chest. Sometimes it's a lot to just carry everything around, and I've realized like I don't even necessarily need help. I just need to speak what I'm feeling, and then it's like I can get it done. Um, One thing I noticed is like the longer you go without asking for help or really verbalizing what's going on with you, is like you just become, call it, a ball of tension. You just walking around here all
Mm.
tense and stuff. And next thing you know, somebody done dropped the salt on your feet and you done knocked them out. And it's like, yo, how did we get
That's what
here?
happens. That's what happens though. That's what happens with guys. Is like, yo, we hold it in, we hold it in, and then all of a sudden the slightest things, and all of a sudden it's like, "Ah!" And we done lost our doggone mind, all because we're not speaking up, we're not opening up. But do you find that it's easy to open up to friends or family or people? Do you find that it's easy to be able to do that?
Um, it depends. I think it depends on the person and the situation. Obviously, me and Chris are really close, so I talk to him about a lot of stuff. Um, it's pretty easy to talk to him about stuff. Same with Adrena. I talk to her as well. So I would say it just depends on who. I'm not just this open book that kind of goes around, just telling everybody how I'm feeling. But something that I found beneficial is something I found beneficial is, like I have a friend who, one of my really good friends, he's married and he has two kids. And so when it comes to certain things, like he's a person that I will talk to about because I know, like the pressures of being a husband, being a father with a young kid, trying to lead the household. It's like he understands that because he's probably the person I can relate to the most on it because he's actually in it, So he actually has a little bit of a head start on me because he had kids sooner, got married sooner. But he's somebody that I can, kind of talk to and relate to just because he's kind of in the midst of it. So I think as far as being able to open up, it's good to have people around you that you trust. But it's also good to have somebody who um, maybe has a somewhat similar situation or has kind of been through what you've been through before, so that they might have a unique perspective where somebody who's never been married, never has kids, their perspective is one of theory, and
Mm.
somebody who is married and does have kids, their perspective is like, hey, I'm in the trenches right now
Literally.
because they some trenches.
Yeah, man. I mean, where do you think that that comes from, though? Like, I'm still trying to. Where can you pinpoint it to, like a place in your life where you're like, oh, I don't know if I should open up about this because I may have been shamed or because I feel like I'm not going to be heard. Can you pinpoint that, or do you know when that happened?
I don't think you can pinpoint it. So it's interesting, actually, in therapy today, we talked about it, and it's
You
kind of how
talked
you
about
started
opening
off
up,
is talking about. So it's related to this, but it talks about like feelings, and understanding your feelings and being able to express them. So we talked about how a lot of times with boys, it's like we started off, toughen up, you're okay, you're fine, you got to figure it out. Um,
be a
and
man.
so I think that subconsciously, is nobody's telling you that your feelings aren't important, but it's like that subconsciously puts it in your mind. It's like, I got to figure this out. I got to be tough. Like, yeah, something's wrong with me, but everybody around me is like, man, you're not hurt. Get up. And so I think that it's not necessarily a direct thing that is instilled in us, but like it's indirect. And so it's like you have to be very aware of the way that you're communicating with everybody. But, for me specifically, dealing with Mike, with the young man, um, being very aware of how I communicate certain things with him. I mean, we're around him. We all know how tough he is. Um, and so it can be very easy for when he gets hurt and he starts crying for us to be like, man, you're fine, because we know how tough he is. But when you think about it, it's us. He is crying for a reason, right? And so us
Hmm.
telling him you're fine is us basically telling him like, what you're going through isn't really that important.
Suck it up.
So for no, pretty much. So for me,
Yeah.
what I try to do is I try to ask him like, okay, if he's crying, the first question I ask him is, are you hurt or are you scared? And a lot of times he's like, I got scared. And then no lie, 5 seconds later, he's back playing again.
So it's just that little bit of acknowledgement, like, yo, you know what? I want to let you know. You know, the other thing that I love, and I love that because I mean, obviously, Mike is my grandson. That's my baby. If you guys don't know, but the one thing that I love that we are doing, and it's not even intentional, it's just our family, is that all of the men in our family, like we all hug on each other, we all love on each other, and he sees that. And I just think that it's such a beautiful thing that we all do. We all communicate with each other. And ain't no yelling and screaming and fighting and bickering. He just sees lots of love and men that aren't afraid to speak up and talk about emotions and talk about feelings. And I even know sometimes even with him, I'll be like, oh man, that made me a little sad today. And they'll be like, what, Pop Pop? And then I'll explain it to him like, oh, this is what made me sad. And explaining feelings to him. And Adrena and you and Adrena's my daughter-in-law. You guys do such an amazing job with him, of letting him express his feelings and talking about feelings and all of those things. So I appreciate you guys for just being the amazing parents that you guys are. So thank you for being such dope parents to my baby.
No, for sure, we appreciate it. It's interesting. So Adrena is really big on kind of the feelings, trying to work through them with him, like explaining. She's actually even helped me as far as, um, Michael, little 3-year-old stuff like you're not my friend or you can't come to my birthday party or whatever. And my response is, hey man, I pay for it, so I'm gonna be there. Um, Straight up, but I don't know what to tell you. But when you think about that, it's like that that is like that's mean, right? Even though it doesn't hurt my feelings, it is mean. And so Adrian does a good job of explaining like, hey bud, if somebody were to say this to you, how would that make you feel? And he's like, it would make me feel bad. And she's like, so do we want to make somebody else feel bad? He's like, no, we don't want to. Um, so she does a very good job of like explaining those things to him and getting him to understand it. And through that, it's helped me to be like, okay, yeah, I don't necessarily like, obviously you got to, with kids, you got to correct their behaviors, right? So, um, something that happens with Mike is like, he'll get really angry and it's like, he can't control his frustration. He doesn't have the tools to really work through it. So, on the one hand, we could be like, we could get just as angry back with him and yell at him and be like, you can't do that. Or we can be like, okay, his anger is coming from somewhere. Obviously, got to let him calm down first. Once he's calmed down, it's like, hey, bud, you were really upset earlier. Why were you upset?
Hmm.
So really just trying to help him to understand, okay, what made him upset, and then just kind of work through those things from there.
Man, I love that, man. And I have to be. I got a confession to make, and I'm gonna be totally transparent. And sometimes it's challenging because I'm not that person anymore. But man, I gotta be honest, man. I'm so happy that you broke the cycle. Like growing up, there definitely were times that I spoke to you in a way that I should not have spoke to you. Like, come on, man, you acting like a little bitch right now. Like, suck it up, Jay. Come on, man. Like, trying to toughen you up. Now, I know my reasons behind it, but there's no reason to ever talk to your son or talk to your kids like that, where you just suck it up, be a man. And I've done that toxic masculinity thing, because that's how I grew up. So when I say I'm happy that you broke the cycle, I'm so proud of you, man, for being able to do that. And I mean, I'm gonna chime in for myself. I'm proud of myself for being able to break that cycle, to stop doing that. And I know when it stopped with you. It's you had a conversation with your mom one time, you had a conversation with Tommy, and you had said something about like, his words, they actually really hurt, and I didn't think about it like that. I was just like, I'm just talking. I'm just being me. I'm just like, yo, 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 you gotta do this. Suck it up. Blah, 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 blah. And it got back to me, and I was like, damn, I didn't realize that I was affecting him like that. I didn't realize that what I was saying to him really hurt him the way that it hurt him, because again, it was just like a way of life. It was just the way that we speak. I'm coming here like I'm Tupac, like I'm like thug life. What? And you like I'm your son, and I'm like f that. But Taylor and Kennedy too, though, like they had to stick up. They was like, nah, pops, I don't like the way that you talking to me, and I had to go back and I had to look at it and I had to change. So I'm proud of myself. So I say that to say that you can make a change. You can make a change. You can acknowledge it, and once you acknowledge it, you can do something about it. And I had to acknowledge that, like, yo, the way that I'm speaking to my son, suck it up, be a man, was not cool. It was not okay, and it was that, again, that toxic masculinity. So you and I, we've already talked about that. I've apologized to you about it, but again, I want to be totally transparent on here. That not act like I'm sitting on a pedestal, because I'm definitely not. I've made my mistakes and I've done those things, and back full circle. Just I'm really proud of you that you broke that cycle.
For sure. No, I appreciate it. And no, you're right about that. We have talked about it. We've kind of worked through that. But I think for everybody else out there, it's really important to just understand. It's like, especially the people that you're closest to, your words mean so much more to them, and so it's important to really communicate to people. People will be like, "Oh, I'm just honest. I can't help it." It's like, man, that's just an excuse for you to be an asshole. Um, Seriously, it is.
No,
At the
you're
end, at
right.
the end, at the end of the day, communication is it's what you say and it's how you say it, right? So part of me being the communicator is, or me communicating a message to you is understanding, hey, this is how you will best receive this message, and so I'm going to deliver it to you in a way that you can best receive it. It doesn't mean you can't be irritated, angry, and upset, and it doesn't mean that those things can't even come out through that conversation. But it's just understanding, like you got to understand your audience, right? And so I think where people miss the mark at is they get upset and they're like, I'm angry, it's about me. There's some selfishness in it. Like, I'm angry, I'm upset. Um, and so now you made me act this way. And it's like, no,
Mm. You
no,
can't
no,
nobody ain't
no,
make you do nothing.
no, no. There's a shout out to NBA YoungBoy. He said, "He who angers you controls you."
That's the
And so it's
truth.
just it's about not giving somebody else the power to control you. It's easier said than done for sure, But you just got to focus on, hey, I'm going to communicate to you in a way that is effective and that you get the message, and I'm not going to let your actions or my frustration affect the way that I communicate with you.
Yeah, I love it, man. And again, it goes back to well, we're gonna wrap it up. But what I would like to get out of this, and what I want people to get out of this, is that men, we got feelings too. Like it may sound cliche, it may sound funny, but it is the truth. And we need a safe outlet. And for those of you that are on the other end of it, like it could be your wife, it could be a significant other, whoever it is, stop telling him, just be a man, suck it up. Like you acting like a little bitch. Like you gotta stop talking to people like that because they will never open up to you. Ever. Once you do that right there, it's a wrap. Like who in the world is gonna come back to you and be like, hey, you know what? After you called me a bitch, let me tell you my problems. It ain't gonna happen, okay?
I
So
felt butterflies inside.
I felt butterfly. So I'm encouraging all my guys out there, like, yo, pick up the phone this week, man. Pick up the phone this week. Shoot somebody a text. Just ask them how they doing. Be vulnerable. If somebody asks you like how you doing, be vulnerable. Hey, you know what? I'm having a rough time this week, or something's not going right this week. You want to go grab a coffee? You want to go for a walk? It's really just that simple. Men, you can do it. I got you. Okay. So I appreciate y'all for tuning in. This is another dope episode of the You Are Dope podcast. Thank you for tuning in with us. Me and my son, JC Ward. I love y'all. Be good to yourself. And remember, you are dope.